If you love having fun together as a team and you want to take your business, your salon business to the next level, we are excited to dive into today's topic, which is all about how to host, set up, and execute an amazing team retreat.
Yeah. And so actually at my salon company, we were just actually coming off of a salon retreat and it was absolutely incredible. And what I love about salon retreats is every time that we get to experience one or we see one experience, you get to really see that connection refoster. You get to re-energize the team and provide those learning and fun opportunities. So today we're going to dive into setting up those successful team retreats so that you're able to build those connections back and you're really able to create something more beautiful than you've ever thought.
Yes. And so I think, one of the key things when you are ready to host that team retreat is really just setting a clear intention for what you want to, get out of that time spent together, because intention really is, the root of everything. But especially if we are going to, devote a bunch of time and money and energy into creating something like this, you really want to work on creating that unifying theme. And, what is that purpose that you really want to achieve while you're together?
Yeah, and so, like, for example, like, think about, like, hey, what would be the most important aspect that we could create this year that would help, like, create that win-win situation? Our team would
Mhm.
win, our clients would win, our service providers will win, and so, like, when you're setting that intention, like, what is it? So for us this year, we really looked at mindset. We know that, like, mindset, this is just an idea that mindset would be something that would help create that win-win effect, and so going in, we knew our intention was to work on some mindsets, to create some transformation for our service providers, and then they would be able to take that knowledge and information and bring it back to the salon space.
Yes. And, I think that mindset really, truly, Jen, is like the foundational thing of everything. Because it's like you can tell, the exact same thing to 10 different people, and their mind will filter what you said in 10 different ways. So if this has ever happened to you as a leader, I know it's happened to me before, where you say something, it's almost like a really good way to see this is when you play the game telephone. Like when you play the game telephone, a lot of times people can't duplicate exactly what happens. And it's because we have a whole bunch of like subconscious programs that are running all of the time. And so, when you go into a team retreat and you set that intention of like, hey, let's elevate our mindset, this truly can create a huge ripple effect, not only inside of your company, but for your team members' families and for just all of the lives that they get to touch, because a lot of times, they're able to be a lot more present. They've kind of had the opportunity to eliminate some of those mindset things that have been holding them back from the highest, most shiny version of themselves, and so truly when you are coming up with that intention, thinking about, what is going to create the best outcome. Because, I think sometimes as salon owners, we get stuck in the mindset of like, well, we need to increase our retail, we need to increase our pre-books, we need to increase all of these things. But the truth is, if somebody doesn't have the self concept that they can, deliver top notch education to their guests, or, you know, really get them on an at-home hair care plan, or, a maintenance plan that works well as a win-win for everybody. They don't have the self-image that they can deliver all of this. It doesn't matter what education you give them if they don't believe it to be true for themselves. You can never, force that upon anyone. And so that's what I think is beautiful about that intention with the mindset, Jen, is that, that's really the key foundational piece to everything inside of your company.
Yeah, and ones I was thinking too is like mindset almost could be utilized and looked at every salon retreat, just because the
Mhm.
as human beings we're always growing and evolving, and so like if it's going to be mindset, it's going to be your focus, like making a list of what are some other things that if your mindset improved would also help grow. Like Lindsay was saying, your service sales, your average ticket, your pre-book, because it does start with that self-concept, like you were saying. And so like just an experience or an example would be now that our team is back and we usually do have yearly salon retreats, I can see that shift in mindset. And now we can see that impact on average ticket. We can see that impact on retail to service. And so, I love that that mindset doesn't have to be the intention, but mindset determines so much about how we show up and what we create. It's a really huge opportunity to view during a salon retreat.
Yes, I love that. And so, once you've uncovered what it is that your intention is going to be for your retreat, then the next step is to really, come up with some sort of an outline of what you want your time together to look like. And so, typically, a retreat, we love an overnight retreat just because it forces people out of their natural elements. And they get to experience staying with their coworkers and seeing who they are outside of work. And, if people have kids or pets or just life stuff going on, it kind of forces them out of their daily routine. And so they can really truly start to see each other as human beings and see, like, wow, I didn't know that so and so loved that they could do cartwheels. I didn't know that so and so could, like whistle the ABCs. I don't even know. Now I'm making up stuff and struggling with it. But like you really just start to get to know some like just quirks about people, just fun things about people. You start to see like, oh my gosh, we're so much more alike than I even realized. And, or I admire this about you. And so it really does, create that and foster that connection on the team. And so determining what the outline is going to look like, how much time are you going to spend together? Obviously we love an overnight, but sometimes when you're new in the beginning, like just doing a 1 day retreat can still be a really powerful experience, and then it comes down to like, hey, now let's build what this is going to look like, because you have to balance learning and fun. Because if you are just shooting information at people, like opening up a fire hydrant and then them trying to catch anything, it's not likely going to work. And so marrying that balance between fun and learning, I think, is an art in itself, Jen. And you kill it at that. You're really great at incorporating fun for sure.
Thanks. So are you. And yeah, I love that you said that because it is that balance, finding that balance because it's like being in school, having a teacher teach you all day. Like you are missing that connection piece when you don't add that fun piece. But also the opposite is true too. Like if you're just out there all having fun drinking together, like it's not a bad thing. That can work too. But like what's the other missing piece to that is like what can we learn from our salon retreat to bring back to the space? And so, I think, some ideas would be like incorporating guest speakers, doing some skill building activities. Like for one instance, if you're working on selling, to do like a little sales class, teach them about selling that, not all sales people are bad. And then, do a fun game around selling. One time we did, Lens, I can't remember which retreat we was, but we did a bunch of different items in a bucket. And then we just had the team come up, pull one out and sell them. And they were like the cheapest things that you could get at the dollar store. What were some of the things that we had in there? Like a banana, a orange.
Yeah.
And I know you're
Yeah.
laughing because you're
I
thinking about
know.
the sausages that I cannot
Say
say. And
it.
this
Just say it.
Baina sausages. Now my southern people will know exactly what I'm talking about here.
Southern people. For those northern folk, she was talking about Vienna sausages. And it was epic. It was so epic because the best part is when the person pulled out that item, they were like, "What is this?" And then you with your southern, you told them the southern version of what it was, and then I think it was just like the fun and confusion, and it was just great to see her try to sell something that she wasn't super familiar with, and it was just really a fun experience. It truly was.
Yeah. And you could stand up there all day long at a retreat and say, hey guys, we've got to sell more of this. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. But why not create that active learning where someone's going to retain like 85 to 90% of that versus that passive learning where you're just standing up there teaching. So like creating that, fun environment where there's laughter, but there's also learning, I think really can create something special.
Yeah, and we are not proponents of you have to learn through pain, but sometimes it
Yeah.
is awkward when you're trying to sell to a group and, but like if you can incorporate that fun and laughter as well, it really helps lighten the mood and really helps, lower people's resistance around selling. Because at the end of the day, usually somebody's had some sort of an experience over time that was less than ideal, and so they just associate that with all of selling. But when you can get them connected to like, hey, when you are serving your guests, that's actually selling. And the way that we serve our guests is by educating them. And it's not just some, 19-year-old on TikTok that doesn't care about this person. Like you truly are invested in this person and you want them to win. And so there's a difference between, serving and selling versus just like selling to sell. And so I love that you talked about like incorporating that with your fun and learning, because like there's so many different ways that you can do that besides just standing up there and saying do this, do that, and I think it's also fun to think about other activities to include like local excursions or doing some sort of like a group challenge or game. Maybe you could do a scavenger hunt, or you could even incorporate something like wellness related like yoga or meditation. You just really want to make sure that you are kind of hitting all areas of the human experience, because yes, we're here to play the salon game together. That's what we're doing, is we're serving our guests to their highest good. We're helping them feel beautiful inside and out, all of that good stuff. But we also know like it takes a whole person to be able to do that. And so it's like, how do you incorporate mind, body, spirit in any of these things? Because when you're showing up as the best version of yourself in all of those, it's really hard to lose. It feels like you're just winning all the time.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And so next part, we're going to talk about setting up a budget. So you're probably like, "Oh, this sounds cool, Lindsay and Jen, but like we're new, like we're a new business. We don't have all the funds for this." And I think there's always a creative way to do this. I remember being early stages of business many, many years ago, and there wasn't the extra funds to do the overnight stays. So we would do a day group activity. We would network with our distributors and say, "Hey, could you bring in a guest speaker for us for the day?" And then we would do some learning that way. And then at night we'd do something fun and they would go home. And so I think you just have to realize exactly what your budget allows and then kind of be able to plan for that. And so, when you stress the importance of setting that budget, make sure that it aligns with the intentions of the retreat. You want to think about cost, you want to think about venue, food, transportation, activities, speakers. And so once you are able to look at all those verticals and kind of get pricing for those, and like, okay, this is going to cost me $6,000. Does that fit into our budget? Or you know what, I'm not even profitable right now. So what can we do that would not cost me any money besides maybe lunch or maybe dinner, that would still kind of create that impact, but just not have the price tag, the bigger price tag at the end of the day. And I feel like also too that sometimes when you do overnight stays, you can get creative. A lot of hotels will do group rates. And so just thinking of like ways of ways that you can save money. Another great idea too is like for those that use credit cards to their highest good and not for debt, like using credit card points, like paying for everything on a credit card throughout the year, and then using some credit card points to pay for those retreats. And so I think you can get creative at the end of the day if like this is something that's important to you. And if you truly understand the impact that a salon retreat, if it's done in the right way, can have on the team, like you can find a way to make it work.
Yes. And, I know we've touched on this a little bit already, but, you might be wondering, well, how long should my team retreat be? And, we would say probably 2 days would be the max that you would want to do a retreat. But, one day can, like Jen mentioned, be epic as well. It's just like, how do you plan out your time and how do you utilize your funds? Because sometimes, you can have somebody come in around noon and not have to provide a meal, because that can be a large cost inside of, a budget for a retreat. So just thinking about like, how are you going to allocate those funds? Like sometimes like if you're renting like an Airbnb or something that everybody's going to stay in, if you have a team that loves to pitch in and do teamwork, maybe you can do a nacho night or something where each person brings like one ingredient or something, just getting creative based on what your budget is and what your goals are that you're trying to achieve. Because like you just really want to find that sweet spot where you're avoiding, burnout or overwhelm, but you're still maximizing your time for activities, and so finding that sweet spot that feels right for you. And I would say, like, hey, if you haven't ever done one before, just start with, a couple activities. Just start with an afternoon to begin with, maybe work with your distributor to get, some sort of a speaker for a couple of hours, and then go do a fun activity together as a team. Just start wherever you are. And then as your team grows and as your budget grows, you might grow to the point where you're like, hey, Jen and Lindsay, I'd love for you to come in and host a team retreat for us. And if you've hit that spot, email us hello at salonbusinessschool.com, and we'll see if it's something that we can work together and collaborate on. Because I think it depends on like your goals as a company and the impact that you're trying to create. Start wherever you're at, and then just have those goals in mind. Like, hey, in the future, my goal is I want to be able to do XYZ, and know that, hey, you have the power to get there, especially if you're aligning yourself with the right people who can help ensure you stay on that right path.
Yeah, awesome. And so we talked about setting intentions, balancing learning and fun, thinking about budgeting wisely, choosing the right link for your retreat. And, one other hot tip too is set a theme. It can be something fun, like maybe recharge and renew. We've done transformation before years ago, and we did some things with butterflies. I mean, so you can get so creative with this. But I think once you have that intention and that theme and you marry them together, like your team is like, wow, this feels incredible. I feel this is amazing. Like, I love these kind of things. And it helps them grow as an individual, which then translate back into the salon space.
Yes. And so once you've, created this epic team event, pulled it off, make sure you get some feedback from your team after the retreat. It's just amazing to hear the transformation stories that occur for people. And, you can really learn, like, hey, we've definitely got to include something like this next year. Here's how we can upgrade this, and really start to plan that the next time you're going to get together, and just be really excited for the future about that. So if you got something great from today's podcast, feel free to share it with somebody that you love inside of the salon and spa industry. If you have any questions, feel free to email us hello at salonbusinessschool.com. We would love to hear from you and serve you in any way that we can.
Awesome. All right, guys. Happy retreat.